You may currently be shopping for, or may already own, a 1970s, 1980s, or even 1990s boombox. In case you didn't know, a boombox is a large, long portable music player that could include a radio plus one or more audio tape units, and more recently, possibly a CD player, and could be carried around, the most deluxe of which were loud, fancy, complex, and now highly coveted among collectors. For most people, boomboxes are functionally obsolete. Hardly anyone uses radio, cassette tape, or CD anymore for their music consumption. Most prefer to stream music, either from the internet or from their phone to Bluetooth speakers. In this video, I'm going to go over the process to bring vintage boomboxes into the 21st century by adding Bluetooth connectivity to them. Strictly speaking, you can add Bluetooth to any portable stereo or boombox. But if you don't make your choice carefully, it's going to be much more difficult than it needs to be. Select a boombox that has an auxiliary input. It might be labeled CDN or something else. Look for a pair of RCA jacks on the rear or side, usually color-coded red and white. It should not be labeled MON, monitor, or output. Auxiliary inputs were more commonly found on higher-end boomboxes and not so often on cheaper or entry-level models. Once you're sure you have a suitable boombox to modify, download the service manual. This will make it much easier to determine how to tie into the existing circuits, and will often show you how to open up the boombox's cabinet with a minimum of trial and error, reducing the chance that you may damage fragile and/or brittle plastics. Good sources of free and not so free service manuals are listed below. Next, you need to acquire a handful of parts. Most are available on Amazon, including the Bluetooth module. The regulator and passive parts will form a power supply for the Bluetooth module. I bought a module off Amazon. It's one of the simplest to use. It doesn't even require authentication for pairing. I'll talk more about this module later. You can get other modules, but I recommend this one because it's so simple to use. It accepts 5 volts at 5 to 20 milliamps and outputs left and right audio channels, and becomes discoverable at power-up and pairs with the first client it meets. For this demonstration, I'll be using a late 80s/early 90s Panasonic RX-CS700 radio plus cassette recorder with detachable speakers. Before making any alterations to your boombox, you need to make sure it's operating properly. There were a couple issues with mine. It plays, it rewinds, it fast forwards, but it makes that weird sound. Right now it's playing. So something is rubbing inside. It should be easy to find. The radio seems to work fine. I'm not sure about the FM stereo light. I don't know whether it's because the light doesn't work or because there just isn't a strong enough FM signal to light the indicator. In case you didn't know, to detach the speakers, push this way, and then at the same time pull the speaker up. With this unit, 5 screws to remove the back, 2 in the bottom corners, 2 in the top corners, 1 in the middle, and none in the battery compartment. Next, open the door. With the front panel detached, you can see the whole unit is comprised of a series of modules. Much easier to work on it if all the modules are out and separated. Before I'm going to do anything, I'm going to look at what's wrong with the cassette deck. What I see is a drive belt from the motor, which is not dead yet, but it's well on its way. And this other belt, it's completely limp, which is not the worst thing that could happen. I'll have to remove this belt to get to this belt, but that's okay. But I'll have to take out the motor to get to this belt. And it's only held in with 1 screw. I found 2 belts of approximately the right size. Okay, that's rewinding. That's fast forwarding. And now it's playing. But it's not making any sound because no speakers and tape head is not connected up. To test the LED, I'm going to disconnect one side of it and apply 1.75 volts to it. If it lights up, it's good. If it doesn't light up, I'll replace it. Couldn't get the LED to light, so I pulled it out and put in another one. I'm going to just leave it in as a round LED, and guess what? It lights. So that LED was defective. Now that my boombox is operating properly, I can resume the installation of the Bluetooth module. Here are the left and right line/auxiliary inputs. I have a few choices here. I can run the shielded wire from the module outputs directly to these inputs and call it a day. I don't like that because someone could accidentally plug another audio source into the RCA jacks and possibly damage the module. Or I could physically block the RCA jacks so nothing could ever be plugged into them again. Or I could simply remove the RCA jacks and prevent any mishaps in the future. That's what I'm going to do.
And like magic, it's out.
Now use short lengths of shielded cable to connect the left and right outputs on the Bluetooth module, labeled L and R, to the line/auxiliary signal inputs on the boombox. Only connect the shielded cable's outer braid to the ground at one end. If you connect it at both, you increase the chance you will get hum because minute currents could be induced on that ground due to the proximity to the power transformer. Make sure that the outer grounding braid is tidy. If you're concerned, use a piece of heat shrink tubing to make sure that the ground is well insulated. Now get out the schematic from the service manual to determine where you're going to get power from and what voltage you're looking at. Generally look for a place around the power switch. You want to be certain that you have a source that will be active when the input selector is set to auxiliary/line, whether the boombox is operating from line current or batteries. On my unit, the common or C terminal of switch S3-2 is live whether the input is set to tape, T, radio, R, or line/auxiliary, L. I can pick it off there at pin 1 of IC157, the LA4108 power amp. I would get very close to 9 volts there.
Pin 1 of the power amplifier LA4108, right there, gets power whenever the speakers are needed. Gets 9 volts. Sounds like a good spot to me, and it's easy to solder to. Pin 1 of the LA4108. I've picked up +9 right over there and ground right over there. I actually don't need +9, I need +5. That's what the module takes. I'm going to use a regulator to bring it down to +5. I'm using an old school regulator.
This regulator circuit will cost under $2 and can be built around the 7805 in the TO220 package. I suppose I could have used a 78L05 in a TO92 case, but I didn't have any. This circuit will power the Bluetooth module so long as Vin is greater than about 7 volts and less than about 35. In this case, Vin is 9 volts, so it will be fine.
There's the power supply. This is the whole thing. Red is in, black is ground, white is out.
Connect the regulated power supply from the boombox to the Bluetooth module. Double check wiring before applying power.
Left and right channels are connected up from the auxiliary inputs. There's power. And now it's a matter of putting this back together and affixing this on and giving it a test. Now that everything is working, it's just a matter of using some double-sided sticky tape to put it in out of the way. And I'll stick in the regulator too with some double-sided sticky tape so it doesn't rattle around. And I've used a Q-tip and some alcohol to clean up some of the dust that made it in here, and of course the capstan and tape head. I don't think this was used more than once. Hopefully it will be by its new owner. It's working so far, except the volume control is a little bit dirty, so I'm going to spray in some fader cleaner and hopefully that'll clean it up a bit. And just to finish it off, put on some stickers that say Bluetooth enabled on the front and on the back.
This is a very powerful module, and on the surface, no pun intended, there's not a lot to it. This multi-layer board sports a 24 MHz crystal, a handful of passive parts, a status LED, and of course, a piece of custom silicon. The number on this chip is AS25BP2R336-55F4. I was wondering about this chip, and I could find out nothing through Google. According to Gemini, it's a G-Li JL Bluetooth custom 32-bit RISC microcontroller with 4 megabits of RAM. In addition to the Bluetooth functions, it has an integrated power management unit that includes a charger circuit for lithium batteries. That's interesting, as it means that a lithium battery could be used to run the Bluetooth functions while the battery charged via the board's USB-C port. There has been some research into this chip in the reverse engineering community. It is apparently possible to modify the firmware via the USB port. That, of course, is beyond my abilities. Speaking of the status LED, I've noted two patterns. This fast blinking, which shows that it's discoverable and trying to connect, and this slow blinking, which shows it's connected and playing music. It may have other patterns. The way I've installed this module, it won't be possible to see the LED from outside the boombox. I don't think that's going to be a problem. It hasn't been so far.
This is coming from my phone via Bluetooth. Works very well. And you can do this too.
There's something to be said about the sound from old stereos. Something good. But I don't want to get a copyright strike, so I can't play any more.
Sorry about that, Chief.
This Bluetooth module is working very well in this vintage Panasonic boombox, and by installing it, I haven't robbed it of its authenticity, I've extended its useful life. I hope this video helped you understand how easy it can be to add Bluetooth to your vintage boombox. Please like and subscribe, and check out more videos from Mr. Brown's Basement.